Hi there, today we've got another interesting special project video for you. Now what makes these parts special is they're for Jaguar Land Rover Classics, and it's actually where they're remaking the famous Jaguar XKSS. To understand where the XKSS came from, you have to go back to Jaguar's racing programme where they raced the D-Type in 1954 in Le Mans, and it took the racing world by storm. It was a car capable of about 180 miles an hour and went from 0 to 60 miles per hour in around 4 seconds, which even by modern standards is quite impressive. By the time they'd finished racing these in 1957, the Americans were asking for a car based on the D-Type Jaguar to sell as a sports car, and Jaguar happened to have 25 unused racing D-Types left over. So they decided to alter them and produce the XKSS. In doing so, Jaguar produced one of the earliest, most beautiful and exclusive supercars that has ever been made. The small production run of 25 became even smaller when on the 12th of February 1957 a fire hit the Browns Lane plant. This destroyed over 300 cars, and 9 of those were the XKSS's that had been produced for sale. So now there was only 16 of these cars ever produced. To replace the cars that were lost, Jaguar decided to bring about a special project to remake those 9 lost cars. To reproduce them, they've used the best of modern technology and traditional craftsman's skills, and this is where we've been able to help them with the chrome on these very special cars. So now it's time, let's get on and get these XKSS parts chromed. Now we're in the polishing shop and we're going to see how we're going to prepare this windscreen frame for the first plating operation. Now, in an ideal world we would be able to polish this up to a mirror finish, nickel and chrome it, and that would be the end of it. But unfortunately we don't live in an ideal world, we live in the real world, so we've got to go over this with a fine tooth comb, because experience has shown us that even though this is an absolutely superbly made piece of work, there are going to be some imperfections. Now, when the original XKSS cars were made, they were never made to the absolutely exacting standards that these continuation cars have been. So these are actually better than original. So what we're doing here is we are going over all of the surfaces at first with an abrasive belt. This is probably about a 400 grit at this stage. We just need to get any minor marks, scratches out, but also this will help reveal if there are any imperfections. If you enjoy our videos, please hit the like button, as it really helps our videos get seen by others. You can see the brass being removed as he's moving down there, moving the workpiece against the abrasive wheel, and now working the main face that you will see when it's mounted to the car. We're trying to catch the main faces here with the abrasive wheel. We're deliberately keeping away from any corners which may be thinner, because the last thing we want to do is polish through any areas, and then it would need some more metal work doing before we carry on. take time to like our video, and if you enjoy it, please subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell, and you'll be told when we release new videos. Now that we've got the main faces with their first polishing operation, we're putting a flexible flap wheel on, and we can use that to get into the recesses, like the recess just here where the windscreen rubber's going to fit. As usual, it's a slow, steady process to make sure that we get it right. Moving on now to some bench work, where we're just making sure that we've got into all of the areas and we haven't missed anything, and it's also an opportunity to go over it with a fine tooth comb to hopefully spot any problem areas that will need a bit of extra attention. Last but not least, we've just got to get into those little recesses there with a small tool just to clean those up in the area where the wiper arm's mounted. After that's done, it's ready for the first of our plating processes that are going to be applied to this screen. Before we can do anything in the plating shop, we've got to wire this screen surround up on some copper wires. This is so that we can pass an electric current through it. So we're going to pass a direct current through it. This causes the metal that's held in the solution to form on the workpiece and give it a copper coating. Another thing of the utmost importance when plating is it's got to be absolutely perfectly clean. Can't stress how important this is. So that's a hot soapy cleaner, and we're going to give it a good old scrub and make sure that we get all over it to remove any debris, marks, fingerprints, polishing compounds or grease. Now we're happy that we've scrubbed it down. It's going in an electric cleaner. Now what this will do, will remove any oxides from the surface of the metal. They're blasted off by passing a current through the solution, and then When that's done, it's into our counterflow rinse system. Now this is going to be repeatedly rinsed in clean water. The clean water comes in and it goes through a weir system through these tanks. So we rinse from the dirtiest water to the cleanest. So the last tank is actually really good clean water. But before we go into the clean water, it's got to go through a dilute sulfuric acid tank. And what that does, that just removes any trace of soap that might be on the surface, because if that's left on the surface, then it will stain when it goes in the plating. Here we're going into the cyanide copper tank to give it its initial coat of copper. This isn't to build up a thickness, this is just to give it an initial coat. On brass it shouldn't really need this, but this is a belt and braces in case there's a little bit of silver solder or something that's not going to like to go directly into the acid copper straight away. So here we go back through the counterflow rinse system again. Exactly the same as we did it before, rinsing through ever cleaner water. Through into the dilute acid, and then we're going into this acid copper solution. It's going to bubble away here for an hour or so. We're not trying to get a very thick coat on this, I'll explain why later. Once it's been in here, just enough to give it a sufficient coat, then it's time for it to come out. After a rinse again, it's time for it to be set to one side to wait for the water to dry off. Now we're back into the polishing shop and we're going to address the little bit of repair work that needs doing, just to iron out those minor imperfections that we don't want to show in the end product. So first of all, we're going over it with a really fine DA pad. That's probably about a 600 grit. There you can see there's a little defect there that's going to need to be filled. So then it's just a case of working our way all over this windscreen frame. Please take time to like our video, and if you enjoy it, please subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell and you'll be told when we release new videos. Now we've identified where the areas are that we've got to fill little tiny pits, we're going to fill those with some lead. So now we're just going to heat up the area, apply a tiny little bit of flux, then we're going to use a little bit of lead. We just want the temperature just enough to allow the lead to melt. We're just about there. And what we're going to do, we're going to use a little spatula tool and we're going to make sure that we push that lead into that pit and spread it out as we're going. It's also a good opportunity to just knock off any extra bits we don't need, because we've got to sand those back and get them level before we carry on. So just working in the other corner. And exactly the same procedure again. A few more little minor imperfections on top of the screen that we just need to get rid of. All that it needs now is just sanding back so that it's level, so then pits are filled. And after we've done that, then this screen is going to be ready to go back into the plating shop for some more copper plating. Now we're back into the plating shop, and this is going to receive its second coppering. Now the procedure is just about exactly the same as it was before, so we're wiring it up on copper wires into the cleaner. As cleanliness is king, it's a good scrub again. Make sure that every finger mark, bit of dirt and grease is off there. Time to pass a current through it and remove the oxides from the surface, just to make sure that the plating sticks to it properly. Back through our rinse system again, so going from dirtier water to cleaner water to cleaner water again, back into the dilute sulfuric acid. Through the cyanide copper solution, that just puts a tiny thin deposit on, and from there back through the swill again to remove any of that solution, and then it's time to go into the acid copper, which is the high build copper. So it's going to be in there cooking away for a couple of hours. Now it's finished. It's just the simple task of a rinse off to get rid of the copper solution. And there we go, onto the side to let the water dry off. Now we're into the polishing shop for the last time. What we've got to do is get this copper plating polished up to a mirror finish. First of all, we're going to go around all of the really fiddly parts, like into that recess where the screen rubber fits, and do all the awkward bits first before finishing it off. It's very painstaking work this, lots of attention to detail, especially as it is an awkward shape to be working with. Now we've moved on to a bigger tool and we're actually going to be polishing the A faces that you see more of. As always, it's a case of working your way around it methodically, checking and double checking again. Here there's a slight defect been found that's had to be taken out using the sander. The polishing compound that you put on the wheels you have to apply little and often. Please take time to like our video, and if you enjoy it, please subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell and you'll be told when we release new videos. More polishing compound needed. Now you can see that we're really starting to get there and the shine is building. It's time to change for a different mop and some white gloves and lime on our gloves so we don't leave finger marks as we're finishing this off. This is the last polishing operation, which we call colouring up. Everything's finished off as straight as possible, and that way you can really see if there are any marks that need any attention. If you enjoy our videos, please hit the like button, as it really helps our videos get seen by others. Here we are, polished to a mirror finish. Now it's ready to go back into the plating shop. Now we're into the plating shop for the very last time. We've already wired it up and cleaned it in the soapy cleaner, so here we're just going to pass a current through it and blast the last of the oxides off to make sure that it's perfectly active and ready to take the plating. All through the rinse system again as before. Now we're getting ready to go into the nickel plating tank. It's the nickel that gives the chrome work all of its good looks and weather resistance. This is the weatherproofing and the thing that makes it look pretty. The downside with nickel is that it tarnishes, so to prevent you having to polish your car every week, you put a layer of chrome on top. Here it is, bubbling away. After an hour or so, it comes out of there. Look at the shine it's got, it's almost finished now. Apart from the yellowy colour, this metal does tarnish and oxidise. So we're going to give it a good swill, and then it's going to go into the chrome tank. Now the chrome is only a very thin deposit of plating over the top of the nickel, and because chromium does not oxidise, it means that you never have to polish it, you just have to keep it clean. After a few minutes in the chrome, it's ready to come out. What we're doing here is we're going to rinse off the chrome solution. Now we're neutralising the chromic acid in sodium metabisulfite. One last swill in water. And the screen surround is now finished, so we'll put it on here to dry off before we inspect it. The very last job to be completed in the workshop is to give it a good wipe over so that we can inspect it and make sure that it's absolutely perfect. So there's the biggest part, the screen surround finished, ready to go back and be fitted to the car. If you wondered what happened to all the rest of the parts, well, here's a bit of a montage to show you.